I just
You
have
know
really
what happens
strong
when you assume.
opinions, and I will die on any hill.
Welcome to that Eurovision site. Welcome to Eurovision fandom as a whole, really. Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. I'm Shiloh. I'm joined today by Ben and Euan. Say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
And today, we are going to be doing something a little different. Our viewers should know, and our podcast listeners should also know, we are a website that loves to have opinions. And we're going to talk about some of our opinions today. We are going to be ranking the past 20 stages from Eurovision on a tier list maker. And I am just going to share my screen and we're just going to jump into it. So if you take a look at our tier maker, we have 5 categories here, as suggested by Ben. We have 12 points for the best stages, scoreboard left side for like the second best stages, saved by the jury for the stages in the middle, non-qualifiers for stages that kind of suck, and nil points for the stages that suck the most. So we are going to go in chronological order here. We're going to start with 2003. So I think we are just we're going to go down the line and we're going to talk about our opinions on this stage, and then we're going to rank it, and then we're going to move on to 2004. So, Ben, do you want to go first? What are your thoughts on this one?
So, yeah, my thoughts are going to evolve in technology as I get further. So 2003 doesn't really have the LEDs that all the modern ones have. And so it's kind of restricted because the LED screens that they have, this was the time when they loved to shove TV screens randomly throughout the stage, which I don't understand why, because all LED panels are just square. They don't have the fancy shapes, and it was interesting. I personally have this as saved by the jury because it's not amazing. It's not awful. It's just kind of there. I have no real horrid opinions. I have nothing I love about it. It's a stage. It's colorful for the time it was at. It had good camera angles and it let the people do what they need, but it wasn't like anything magical or special.
I would actually stick this in left side because I think you will hear this related to a lot of my more opinions throughout. But something that's really important for me with the stage is like how versatile the lighting can be, because a lot of them can be they're really suited to like bright performances, or they're really suited to dark performances, and there's not really that versatility in there. So like when delegations try and go really dark, but then the stage is still very, very light. But I think like Riga really did quite well with this, because on those like the ones that are wanted to be a lot more darker, so for instance like Russia, that was the staging was quite dark, but then you did also have these like vibrant bright ones, and yeah, it does look a bit naff. That's why it's pushing to put it in left hand side, but I wouldn't by any stretch of imagination say it's a bad stage. It's dated, but for the time it's very nice, and I don't think it should really be judged as harshly as I think I have seen people judge it when they do rewatches of these ones from 2003.
I am with Ben on this mostly. I don't have very strong opinions on this stage either way. As we move further into this, you will learn there are some stages that I really, really hate. This is not one of them. It's fine. I don't remember having huge issues with it when I watched 2003. I don't remember seeing the performers having a hard time staging their performances. And that's really the biggest criteria for me, is how well can any performance adapt to the stage? How well is everyone able to make use of the stage throughout the contest? And nobody really had big glaring issues with this, probably because it wasn't a big, huge stage like we're going to see later on. It doesn't super stand out to me, but I really don't hate it. So that's 2003. Our next stage is going to be 2004. 2004. Ben, what do you have to say?
It's also a trend back in the days on they have weird props. So like in the back of the stage, there's like this weird globe with the latitude, longitude grids and everything, which I don't like the props randomly. It's like something about, for me, one of the main key things that like is part of my decisions are, is it versatile? So can you transport a song into almost unrecognizable, but there's still a bit of the stage that you can recognize. So it's like you can adapt, but it still kind of looks like the stage. But also the props are just weird. Like, why is there a random globe in the middle of it? I don't get the little like paint spill effect in the back as well. And also, a lot of people didn't even use it. It was just a very dark year, at least in the final. And so like it also sits in the save for the jury for me. It's there. It's not. It doesn't. All the things aren't awful, but it's a stage. It let people do what they need to do. It didn't have any fancy flip tricks or anything. It had some interesting choices, but yeah, just there, middle of the pack. A bit. I'd probably put it below 2003, but it's not any really lower.
I think for me, I would stick it in non-qualifier. Like it's such a mishmash that doesn't really work. And I think with also the lighting and the colors, like when you look at some of the performances and they've put the color and put the lighting, it's just so overwhelming in one color because of the way that the stage, like the stage is made and like the coloring of it, and it doesn't work. And I think it really is a hindrance to a lot of performances, particularly more things like ballads. I think the ballads look really bad, and I can't think of a single one that looks bad, that looks good on that stage. So that's why I don't think it really works. And I would strongly put it in non-qualifier.
I am just going to straight up put this into non-qualifier because that's exactly how I feel as well. I think the visual design of the stage, especially the back wall, just made the contest feel like it was happening in a cave system. Like, it felt really closed in. And it's a very distinct visual. And if I like watch a random performance, I will be able to pick out, oh yeah, this is happening in 2004 because the stage is just like that. But it's not really a good look. I don't think it did a lot of the performers any favors. I don't think the stage design was really strongly detrimental to a lot of performers, but it wasn't pleasant to look at. And it just made the whole arena and like the television cut of the contest feel really closed off and dark and like it was happening in a cave system.
Can I also say I didn't realize there was the longitude and latitude until Ben said that. I had no idea. Because it feels like because a lot of the stages, like they're built on a concept, like 2004 was really like, hey, Turkey is part of Europe. We're like, oh, is under the same sky. And I feel like in some of the other ones that we'll discuss later, it really works a lot better. Oh my God, I've actually just seen that 2011 is a stethoscope. Sorry, that's just never hit me before. But yeah, it works so much better.
Right.
It works so much better in a lot of other ones, but like in this one, it's just feeling like they're shoehorned in to the point where I can't even see these concepts.
Yeah, it's a weird globe, and it looked like, back in the 80s when they had like they were on the nose having an 84 in there and a globe in the background, and it gave me back to that type of thing when it's like a prop. Why is there a prop on the stage?
Should we move on to 2005?
Yes.
Indeed.
The worry's not over, everyone knows it. It's just a reason to make us believe that someone's the loser, someone's the winner, to make us believe that's the way it should be.
So 2005, hosted in Kiev, Ukraine. Kiev, thank you. Has these funny little tables on the sides. I mean, they're not actually tables, but they look kind of like tables in this picture. This is not a stage that is particularly memorable to me either, I guess. It's here. It's like fine. I don't have strong feelings. Ben?
Okay, I do have so much. This isn't a top tier for me, but it's one of my faves from this era of the contest. We'll get to next one is I have more strong opinions on, but so I there's like these little cones in the floor. I love it's like they tried to start doing the LED floor, but technology wasn't there yet, or they couldn't afford it. So they had like these little lights so you could see through the floor. It was very, you could change the lighting. They had, I'm guessing LED costs probably just dropped at the beginning so they could have some fiber optic LEDs in there, not screens, but at least colorful, make the stage change. So something like My Number One can look completely different on that stage than Angel from Malta. It's a good stage for ballads. The little circle stages I like because it almost, I think it was Belarus's song that year. They had people standing on those little circular platforms. It wasn't just you have a band on the stage. You could have them parts scattered about and have a different camera shots and make it all look a bit different. And so like it was one of the first ones where they had a good size, pretty decent LED to begin with. And yeah, it had, I have this left side. It's one of my faves of this early era, but not my top tier.
I have quite mixed feelings about this because this stage, 2005 is actually the first year that we had the spider cam. So that for those who don't know, that's the one that sort of it's suspended from the truss in the ceiling. So it's the one that can allow those really like wide pan out shots. So this is the first stage that's really had to like be made for those camera ones, because you've got the big crane ones that will be zooming out, but they won't be zooming out in the same way. So they've really had to make the like up the size of this one. And I don't really like how they've done it, but I think they've still done it in a way that's like it made the stage like really bright. This is one that's really versatile for lighting. I think with that really moody Cypriot lighting, it's just there. But then you have that like the vibrancy during your cranes, like it works really well. So I think although I don't visually like it because the bits at the back just vile, I would still put it up in Saved by the Jury's or Left Side, because it gives that versatility that's allowed some like really gorgeous visual performances that are like really striking and lasting. Even though I don't like it, I still think it does well with what it does.
So I think we're going either Saved by the Jury or Left Side here, but I'm not sure. It like if there was a middle category between these two, that's where it would go, but there isn't one. So now we need to make a decision about it.
I could concede it to be above 2003 for now, and
I
maybe
would definitely
move
say
it
it's
up,
above 2003.
and maybe move it up depending on what else we put in Saved by the Jury. But it's either in the lower hand of Left Side or above 2003.
Can
All
we
right.
rank it to the left of does the tier
left to
maker
right.
allow us
Oh
to do?
yeah.
Or you can move 2003 to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're ranking within the rankings. But yeah, I think that's
Sure,
fair
okay.
because it's definitely better than 2003.
So now we move on to 2006. Which is one of the most distinctive stages of this era, I think, just because you have this whole, I don't know if it would be appropriate to call it a gladiator arena design in that sense, because it's Greek and not Italian, but the sort of stadium stair design.
Yeah,
It's an
I got
amphitheater.
amphitheater. Yeah.
Thank you. How do we feel about this one?
So this is probably my favorite stage of this era. I love every little bit about it because it's so unique, but it's also, you could have so many different acts. Something as insane as Lordy works so well on the stage. It doesn't really hinder anyone, and it has a visual identity. When you see that show, you know you're watching 2006. But you know that's the stage. There's no questions about it. And I love it so much. And the LED is surprisingly good, again, for 2006. It has just a good charm. It has good camera angles for everyone's. It's a bit restrictive in the front, so you can't get too many shots on the side, but everything looks good. It has, my one downside is it has the early Eurovision downside of flags in the camera shots. They didn't have as much of a gap between the stage and the crowd, and you had the big flags everywhere. And that's as much as the downside as I have for it. So it's a 12-pointer for me.
I have to agree, 12-pointer. Also for another reason, this is the first stage that had like full pyro that you saw in the like Lordy. And I think the fact that they like Greece gave us something that is like one of the most important staging elements that we now have, commend them. I love the way that they've like really brought the national visual identity. Like, this is Greece, we're doing an amphitheater. But they've not just stuck a solid thing and then just have nonsense around it. They've really tried to make it like the performance create their own vibe with it, and it works really well. Like it's something like Iceland can look amazing on it, but also something like Finland, like there is that versatility in it that we don't see in enough Eurovision days. Yeah, the LEDs aren't phenomenal, but it's 2006. I really do love also the lighting. I will say this in basically every single one. The dark looks really good when it's dark, and that is just fantastic. I would have to put this in 12 points. It's phenomenal.
Now, this is interesting because this is not
Oh,
a
is this our
stage.
first point of contention?
Ooh.
It's the thing is that I don't have any arguments with any of what either of you just said. I just consider the stages on a different sort of criteria. Like it's less technical and more about vibes. A lot more about vibes. And I like that this stage has a visual identity that ties it to that contest and to the country that the contest was taking place in. But the steps just looked funny, especially with the LEDs on them. There were times when I would watch it and they would have LEDs, like the lighting not lighting, but the display on the stairs, and it would just look kind of off because of the texture. And I feel like it makes the stage seem kind of closed off in a way that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I have issues with big wide open stages that I'll touch on more when we get to 2012 in particular. But it just felt a little too constricted. That having been said, I would be happy to put it further up because this is my own, those feelings are really more of my own personal preferences, and it really did work well for a lot of the performances. Lordi did really well with this. I think it was a stage design that really just enhanced all of the vibes that Lordi had in the performance, that if Lordi had performed in a different arena, things might have been really different, but it was an arena that did a lot of favors for them. Or a stage. I don't know why I'm saying arena all of a sudden. But so if y'all want to put this in 12 points, I will put it in 12 points, but maybe once other stages get put up there, it's going to be like on the right side of the 12 points list. How do we feel about that?
I think that's fair.
I do have a couple that are above it, so it will get.
Okay.
I haven't actually ranked these, so I'm going purely vibes based on this, like going straight into it. I have no notes.
So our next stage is 2007. How do we feel about 2007?
In contrast to 2006, this is one of my least favorite stages.
Can I just quickly interject that before Ben slanders this? This is so I've brought the microphone to me to say this. If a stage could be full mother, this would be it.
So I think I'm guessing I'm going to be in the minority here, but these 2007 and 2008 have a trend in them where it is a tiny stage in a sea of LED for some reason. And I do not like it. Because in so many of these performances, it's not fully the stage's fault for camera angles, but the stage is so small that you're either right up against the performer or horribly large wide shot that is at the back of the arena for some reason, and hate it. It is just, it's so small and restrictive in my opinion that you really just see a tiny stage and that weird little thing going above it. Yeah, the LEDs I will give quite good for that year. For 2007, especially for a curving LED like that, incredibly impressive. Finland did a good job with technical aspect. But it's just so small in my opinion that it hampers all the performances to be confined to that tiny area and just feels tight to me. So I have it. It's a nil ball for me. But I'm guessing it probably is not going to end there once you two go.
Wow. I love the bar. I think it's based off a traditional Finnish instrument. I might be talking pish, but I think it's based on, and it's just, it stands out as such this nice visual piece that doesn't distract from the performances, and it just really adds some atmosphere to it. I understand that 2007, 2008 get lumped together, but I do have different opinions on that. I absolutely, are we allowed to swear in this?
Yeah, we're allowed to
Okay,
swear.
I fucking love the sea of LEDs on the floor because they just add to the atmosphere so much. Like, I think of Svetsa Yoga and the dramatic, the operaticness, and it's dark, it's moody and like atmospheric and anthemic. But then you go to I Love You Mi Vida, this big, bright white, and the sea of white, it works so well because so many times when it's just a block of LEDs on the floor in a circle, and there's nothing around it, it just stands out too much. But this one, the sea of light and white just works so well. It's so diverse. The curved walls, fantastic. Yeah, the camera work, I will obviously concede to Ben, but that's not the stage's fault. That's YLE being shit at camera work. But
They've improved.
even though it's small, you think think Ukraine and France. You have Verka and that man running around the whole stage, and it's still like there's enough room to do that. I feel
Was this the year that the French guy had the golf cart? Or
no,
was
that was
that
2000. That was
2008?
2008. 2007 is Le Morale Français. It's when they do these over-the-top French stereotypes. There's the guy with the cat on the
Yes.
shoulder. There's berets.
Okay.
There's wings. It's camp as hell. One of the greatest performances in Eurovision history. And I know I say that a lot, but I realistically mean this. It looked, yeah, that's actually a perfect example. The pink. It's so overwhelmingly pink. You put that in any of the other stages in this entire list, you're not going to get the same color, the same vibrancy in it. It is 12 points. It's left side of the 12 points as well. It is mother, it slays, it serves.
I will give something on the colors. It does like Molotva. It is red.
Yes.
It is nothing but red, and you can see that. That's something I will give. It's very good at telling a color story.
And can I also say, because with the I don't know what the instrument is based off, but that thing, it breaks up the color in a perfect way because you're still allowing light to shine through, but it's not just this big obelisk, this big black sun that sits at the back of the stage and ruins every performance.
We'll get there.
We will get there.
I have a thesis on that one.
Of course you do. Ben the engineer. Of course you do. This is also one of my favorite stages on this list. It is not my favorite stage, but it is very good in my opinion, just because I think that just looking at it, I like the way that the lines move. It's so like fluid. It's very satisfying for me to look at. And especially in what picture is this performance of? Is this Bulgaria?
Yeah, it's Bulgaria.
Yeah.
It says in the bottom left.
It does say in the bottom left. Well, I couldn't see it when it was all zoomed out like that. But it, like, look at this. This is just so gorgeous the way that it was used. And this this graded thing here, I liked it. Maybe it was an unnecessary set piece. I don't care. I thought it was really pretty to look at. That being said, I hear the criticism about the stage being small. My personal preference is towards smaller stages than bigger stages, but I hear that it was small, but I don't think it impacted the performers too badly. I feel it. So we're pretty split. Do we want to call this like left side?
That's about as far as I'll allow it for myself, but
I'm happy to drop it down in light of Ben's incorrect comments.
It could be also my biases on me very much liking all but two songs that year, or hating all but two songs that year.
What were the two songs you didn't hate?
Molotva and Lasha Tumbai. Obviously, the top two. It's a stellar top two, and I hate.
It's 2007. What is wrong with you?
I hate 2007
and
and 2008. 07 and 08 are both for me. No.
08 is a different category because that's an abomination. But like,
do we want to just put it in no flaw right away? Because I feel like we all don't like it.
No.
Oh no, I actually can't. No.
the opinions are wild. But yeah, like I can't believe we've come out that revelation that Ben is a Helsinki hater. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I mean, the host entry that year was so good.
Okay, that is. Oh, my bad. I have 3 I like. I forgot Leave Me Alone. I left her alone,
How can
so.
you not like I Love You Mi Vida?
I love you, mi vida.